It's a pretty genius move to make your product giftable. If you do it right, you're basically allowing your customers to pay you for the chance to introduce your brand to their friends and family. Today we're talking about Diptyque and their 5-candle gift set. We're gonna break down their packaging, give it a score, and talk about how they could have made it better so you can make your gift set that much cooler. So stick around.
French fries, French dressing, French bread.
Welcome back to the packaging list, where we unbox and break down great packaging so you can make your packaging more effective. If you sell products now or you want to sell products someday, hit the subscribe button so you can always watch our latest videos. And also, if you need help with your packaging, hit the link in the description to schedule a call with us. Okay, let's talk about this Diptyque gift set. We're a big fan of gift sets. You know, imagine your customer is frantically looking for a good gift. They want to give it to somebody special, and they see you with your gift set and you're like, hey, give them this and they'll love it. And they'll feel special because you spent so much money on them. Gifting is one of those rare occasions where customers are actually looking to spend more so they can make a better impression. Now, gift sets obviously are better during certain seasons and with certain types of products, but they do work year round. And we have one such gift set here. This is the 5-candle sampler set from Diptyque. Diptyque is a French brand. They're famous for their luxury candles and scents. And there's actually a story where Karl Lagerfeld, who was a creative director for Chanel at the time, apparently would only burn this one candle at the Chanel stores and on the runway. So it's a fancy brand with a really long history. Specifically, we're going to talk about this one specific 5-piece gift set. Quick sidebar, as we're unboxing it, I'm actually curious to see what you think the retail price should be. I don't really feel like it does a good enough job justifying the retail price, but I'm interested to see what you think as we go through it. So let's unbox it.
What's nice about this is, from a design perspective, they've got this really strong emblem that they've kind of used across things. And then they've been pretty liberal and creative on what the background is for their different products within their different product lines. This is all done on a sleeve, really. The sleeve on top of a rigid box. The sleeve itself is just printed paper. They did print on the inside as well, which is kind of a cool little surprise. Added this little kind of gifting element on here. I'm not sure that this is on all of their products. I think this is kind of a special treatment. We would call this like a tip-in in a magazine, or on packaging we call it trim, like adding a little something special that's a little different material and catches your eye. And also, you know, you have this tactile thing that you kind of just naturally kind of want to go touch it and see if it's real, things like that. The bulk of the budget really went into this box here, which is a rigid box. It's black paper with a pull-out tray. Both the tray and the outside are a rigid material, so we often call that paper over board, turned edge. There's a couple names for it, but it's a much more rigid feel. So you get it and it just feels more substantial than something that's just folded carton. We've also got an insert, which is just a simple piece of paper, printed both sides, not a lot going on with it. And in fact, they probably could have done a lot more with this if you're gonna go to the effort of inserting this. Just thinking through how it fits in there, what other messaging you could do. The last piece of this is really the tray inside here, which is holding these candles. This is actually made of a foam inside with paper covering it. It does a nice job in terms of holding the product, but we just think that they could have probably done a little bit of a thorough thought through on what other materials they might be able to use there, because foam just feels a little bit out of touch, especially with a French premium brand. And in this day and age where we're all trying to be a little bit more conscious about, you know, what materials we're using.
Okay, so let's talk parts. Basically, we have this outer sleeve here, lots of foil and special treatment going on here. It's printed inside and out, kind of a nice touch. We're estimating that's about 20 cents. You have this trim or tip in up here, the ribbon, hand done, glued on, nice effect, about 10 cents. Then you have the rigid box. This is a pull-out drawer structure. We're estimating that is about $1.35. Extra points because they did use black board inside, so you don't see that craft inner. It looks pretty cool. Then you have this printed insert. This is about 5 cents. Inside this drawer structure, you have this tray with foam holding the candles. We estimate that is about 15 cents. So totaled up, we're estimating about $1.85 per unit in packaging cost. Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Okay, let's talk score. So we gave this package a total score of 61.5. We're gonna talk about what went into that score, but the question is, what drove that score and what could they have done better? That's what we're gonna spend the rest of the video breaking down. And I think the big takeaway for you is hopefully seeing a handful of areas where one of the biggest brands missed, and maybe this will drive some thoughts of things you could do to make your product stand above even this one. So let's get after it. Now, before we talk about design or materials, let's talk about the strategy behind this box, because that ultimately drives everything else. One of the first questions to ask with strategy is, are they spending the right amount to create the right effect? So in our scoring system, we call this bang for your buck. And before we started unboxing, I asked you what you thought the retail price would be. I really feel like if you don't know this brand, you might think it's like $40 or $50 gift. You know, if you know the brand, you'd be excited about the gift and you'd understand how much someone spent on you. But if you didn't know the brand, I don't know that it really does a great job. So this package, I picked it up, it retails for $99. And if you're feeling like me, like maybe it was $40 or $50, that basically means the packaging didn't do its job. So that $1.85 they spent, even though it's not bad in terms of cost of goods sold, really it didn't bring the right return on investment. It does feel like they could have gotten more out of that $1.85.
$2 cash.
And so for that reason, we scored bang for your buck at a 6. What would we have done to improve it? Well, if we were building this box or if we were competing with this box, again, we just think the $1.85 they spent could have been put to way better use.
Yeah, I think this is a great one for a lot of reasons, because we're really talking about a product that has a a high value that the packaging needs to live up to. This also needs to think through how the receiver is gonna receive it and what they're gonna think of the brand or do with the product after they receive it, because they didn't make that decision to begin with. So it kind of has two purposes in what it's doing, both the retail setting as well as for the giftee and how they then carry forward with the brand.
Here's the two paths we would have taken to optimize this box. First one is, could we keep the same price but make it feel a lot higher value? And this is typically done through repurposing the cost of the materials into something higher value. What's interesting about this process is that's not really something you can just go to your factory and tell them to do, because they would likely make you the same concept, but just with cheaper materials. And then you're back to the same problem of it just doesn't feel high end. But if you work with a group that understands design and materials like us, you could easily swap things out to make a bigger impact. So that looks like, hey, maybe less of this material, interchange this material. We'll kind of get more into that as we go through materials, but that's essentially what we would have done. The hand-done pull-out drawer box is probably a little bit over the top for this concept, and we would have swapped that. We'll get more into what we would have done later in the video. The second path we could have gone to optimize this box is saying, hey, could we spend 10 to 20% more on the packaging and really drive up the retail perception? The big idea here is that if you're giving this to somebody, you want them to see the product and not knowing anything about the brand, can be kind of blown away and say, wow, that's a really nice gift. What we would have done in this case is similar to the first path, but we would have upgraded the materials even a little bit more. We actually did a candle set for a client not too long ago, and what we did is we built this wooden tray that each candle sat on. Now, what's kind of cool about that is you're really controlling how someone displays your product. And let's say you give this as a gift, the person receiving the gift, once they burn one of the candles, there's almost a built-in need to replace it and fill up their set. So for an additional maybe 20 to 40 cents in cost of goods sold, you could have added a wooden tray that's more permanent, or you could have swapped out and used some kind of metal tray or acrylic. And really they could have done that for a similar price as what they're already committing to the paper and foil. They just could have gotten a little smarter about it and incorporated different materials. So that would probably be the path that we would like to take if we were to optimize this box. Let's talk about the next area where this box didn't really cut it and what we would like to see done a little bit better, and that is significance. So significance is making something that's unique and different, and in our scoring model, it's made up of effectiveness and defendability. Effectiveness is asking, does it do its job? And defendability is asking, is it unique or does it feel like anybody could have done this? So let's talk effectiveness. We actually scored this at a 6 as well. We really found it to be middle of the road. And what we don't love is that they have a bit of an identity crisis going on. It's not really optimized for a direct-to-consumer play, because you open it up and you don't really learn much about the brand. And it's also a little awkward at retail. Typically at retail, you might want to have a window or some way to display the product so you don't have to rely on the store demoing it and leaving out a sample. So we thought that was a little bit clunky. Here's what we would have done to make effectiveness a 10. And it really comes down to understanding the strategy and understanding how your product is being experienced primarily. Is it retail? Is it in a demo situation, or is it direct to consumer? We think that understanding the overall strategy and how the product is being perceived could have allowed a concept that would have been a lot more effective and told the brand story in a lot stronger way. We're big fans of the reusable display concept, which we'll get to. Let's talk defendability. We scored this package at a 5. The main reason is there's really just not a lot going on here. And this is a perfect example of when a brand is relying too much on the brand to move some product. If I go in there and I'm passionate about that brand and I love it, I would go in and I would see, oh, hey, this is a luxury brand, and for $100, I can get a gift assortment to give to somebody I love. But if you didn't know the brand and you went in and saw this in the store, I really think this is an example where you could have slapped a different logo on the front here and no one really would have known the difference and known what it was.
It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
So how would we have made defendability a 10? Well, it really comes down to using messaging and using the design and the concept to tie into your brand values. So the question is, how are you communicating your brand values to someone who's never seen your product? So in the case of Diptyque, what they could have done to improve that is maybe digging a bit deeper into their brand story. Talk about how exclusive the scents are. Talk about how this scent only comes from this one location, and connect the box in some way back to their roots in Paris, France, and make this really more of a statement. Make it feel really unique and like something you can't get anywhere else. Let's talk materials. Materials are made up of execution and sustainability. Execution, we don't really have much to say here. We do think they executed it really well. There's a few elements where you can tell they went the extra mile. It's just they executed a really boring concept, so we score it at an 8. Sustainability, we scored them to 7. They're going through, they're checking off all the boxes. You can see from the logos, it's made with recycled material, sure. But overall, we just kind of feel that if you're just checking the boxes, you're not really like winning a lot of points. Here's what we would have done to optimize in terms of sustainability. We do know from the logos on the back that they do care about being eco-friendly. That's great. But this foam inner tray doesn't feel eco-friendly at all.
It does a nice job in terms of holding the product, but we just think that they could have probably done a little bit of a thorough thought through on what other materials they might be able to use there, because foam just feels a little bit out of touch, especially with a French premium brand. And in this day and age where we're all trying to be a little bit more conscious about, what materials we're using.
Our generation really doesn't like to see foam. Seeing a different material in here would have been a lot more interesting. They could have used something cool like a molded pulp or something made from mycelium that had a cool story element to it. The foam just kind of feels wasteful, so we would have recommended something different to hold in the packaging. They probably would have saved a lot of cost, and if done correctly, it would have had the exact same effect of keeping the product safe, organized, and clean when you open it up. As we wrap up, let's talk about 3 things they did right. First, the foil and stamp is really nice. Second, we do feel like the kit is priced really well. Again, it kind of depends on you knowing the brand in order to appreciate the pricing of that. But if you know the brand, the value actually feels pretty nice. But here's what gets me excited about this package. Not how great it is. What gets me excited is how much room for improvement there is. This is a big company with a rich history, and when it comes to packaging, they're kind of asleep at the wheel and they're relying on their brand to do a lot of the heavy lifting for them. I do feel like if I gave this to someone who hadn't been in a flagship store and didn't know the history of the brand, they would probably think this is like $40 to $50, and that just means the packaging didn't do its job. Which means if you're a smaller company getting into candles and home goods, you could level up pretty easily and make something that's way more striking than they're offering. 3 areas we would have improved this box in summary. 1, we would have loved to incorporate some kind of reusable display tray, something that needed to be filled in as you burn through them. You're gonna wanna display the candles there. Kind of ties that packaging into the whole story of the home and take control of how you're displaying the product. 2, better messaging. Again, some of these inner cards, it doesn't read very well. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't get you excited about the brand. And then 3, we would have loved to tell more of an eco story with a really cool material inside, like a molded pulp or a mycelium. Okay, that is it for the Diptyque 5-candle gift set. A few things they did right, a lot of room for improvement, things you could do in your brand. We're estimating $1.85 per unit and a score of 61.5. So tell us, how did we do? Let us know in the comments what we got right, what we got wrong. Also, let us know what packaging you want to see us break down. Last thing, if you want to go head to head with a brand like Diptyque and you want to make something really cool, really significant, really stand out, hit the link in the comments to book a call with us. We'll see you next time.